126 in Tanya, and let's continue where we left off yesterday. Well, the Alter Rebbe gave us two examples of Mesiras Nefesh to embellish his idea of the second type of Ava that he's talking about at this point, which is called Kibrod Shtadl Basar Aviv. He made the love that a child has for a parent. He said one is when the child returns from jail, from Shivya, and the joy that the father has. And the other mashal he gave is making a dwelling place for God, which doesn't seem to be specific to a child. It's to anyone, which is true. But it is a second mashal that he gives. This is the middle of 126, smack in the middle of the page, about 10, 12 lines down. The line starts from Dira betachtoinim. Let's continue. We're in the third word, Vihine. Vihine gam leprinas nashi v'sicha hanal. Now he goes back not to the love of Avinu, but to the first love that he spoke about in this Pedic, which is Chayenu, Nafshi v'sicha. So he says, even to that level, it's close to a person to reveal that from its concealed to revealed state. Through using this practice that we mentioned and we spoke about yesterday, through accustoming oneself constantly, hergel, befiv v'li b'shavim, making one's mouth and heart equal in the sense of developing a love for God. But what if he can't? What if he tries and he can't develop a feeling in his heart? Nevertheless, he still can study Torah, do mitzvahs, l'shmon, for the sake of the mitzvahs themselves, without any ulterior motive. So here the Alter Rebbe employs a concept called imagination. In other words, let's go into pretend mode. But it's not a fake pretend. It's not, a wannabe. When we talk about siyur inya machshava, when Chassidus in general talks about imagination, it means to focus your mind as though the thing is seen by you. Now, those of you who are in the creative arts world, like Avram and Moshe, myself writing, this is a very important point. You have to, the way I do it is, I don't know how you do it, Avram and Moshe, but the way I do it is, you have to imagine, before you begin your creative process, what you want the result to be, what you want the feelings to be, what do you want to motivate? When I go into a room to speak, whether it's a farbrengen or a lecture, I have a picture of what I want to accomplish, and I work on how am I going to accomplish that. And then when I start speaking, which, as it says in Chassidus, when you start speaking, it touches the koyach hamaskil, which is the power of intellect, and it goes even deeper. So your mouth will say things that you didn't even prepare. But nevertheless, the preparation involved the koyach hatzir, the power of imagination. In other words, I imagine I'm going to speak about, let's say, Chassidus, and I know in that room there are Litvaks as well, or Sfardim, right? And I say to myself, my job tonight is to give these people a taste of real Chassidus, with the hope that they will then want to find out more. And you focus on that. So, and this has nothing. By the way, this has nothing to do with the knowledge of the information. The knowledge of the information I have to know, because you can imagine and fantasize whatever you want. If you don't have the info, the data, you're going to be a farce. And we have such people who are very good in the drama and in the fantasy and the imagination, but they have no backbone, no meat to themselves. And at the end of the day, it's like a balloon that you put a pin in and it just ends. So we're talking about here a quality project, a quality product that you're going to bring to the table because of your expertise and whatever creativity you're working with. And that creativity still requires tziyur. And that's what the Alter Rebbe says here. Here we're dealing with this problem, Isser, right? There's a person who wants to develop a love for God similar to the love of this is my life. Although it's just exchanging one taiva for another taiva, but as we say, halavai beinani. Hasidim would say, we talk about the tzaddik, the Hasidim, the Lubavitcher Hasidim, Chabad Hasidim would say halavai would be just a beinani. Halavai, we would exchange the taiva of our material pleasures and taivas for the taiva of ruchnius, of godliness, of Torah, spirituality, etc. Right? Now, what if it's not coming to the heart? So the Alter Rebbe says, so what you should do is, you should be mitzayer inyan avazu b'machshava shebemoichoi u'machshava toiva kodesh baruch hu b'tzarfa. This is very interesting. In other words, you're going to get a gift. If Hashem sees that you're working very hard to bring this imagination in, He's going to bless you, your work, and the kavanah is going to come. So that's why I say to people, they ask me about writing, and take that pen or to go to the computer and just start. And if you endeavor, Hashem sees that you really are doing it l'shma, for the sake of Hashem, which includes parnasa and inspiring people to be more godly, God will send a machshava, a kavanah, a feeling that He will then combine to your action, and then your piece of art or your piece of writing, your piece of music will be electrified with a spirituality and a godliness that transcends what you did.
Like shtadlus, it's like doing your shtadlus.
Yeah, it's doing the shtadlus, but here we're talking specifically using the koyach hatziyur. We can't put it all in one bag, Yoini. Of course, it's the shtadlus, true. But we're talking about which specific element in hishtadlus should you use to develop that avad for Hashem that you're trying and you don't got it and it doesn't go. So the Alter Rebbe says you should use koyach hatziyur. Let's continue. These two levels of love, we said earlier, how do we have them initially? How do we even have them? It's an inheritance from our forefathers, but and it's like a natural phenomenon in our soul. And so too, the awe, that's the reverence that's included and incorporated within these loves, shehi, to fear being separated from God. I don't want to be separated from God. Look how he combines here. Isser, both the words chayenu vavinu, from the source of our life and the source of our Father. Why does he say that, Hillel, both words? Because he's referring back now to the both Avas, the Avas of chayenu and the Ava of Avinu. Hamiti Baruch Hu, the true God, Aval became. Nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe says, don't get your horse so high. They're not called natural love and fear, only when they're lodged in your thought, in your mind, and in the recesses of the heart. We learned earlier in chapter 39, if you remember, we're talking about the love of angels. And we said the love of angels is like the love of the world of Yetzirah. Yetzirah is emotions. The world of Yetzirah is the world, Hillel, of emotions. So when you have either an emotion in the heart or an emotion at least that the head understands that this is the right thing to do, which we learned in chapter 16 is called Talumas Libai, so over there, and it's there, to that place of the world of Yetzirah, the world of formation. Yetzirah, by the way, is associated with the word Isser Tziyur. See? Yetzirah and Tziyur. So when you over there, and when you bring Torah mitzvahs to that place, to that domain, Torah mitzvahs habois machmas v'subasim that comes from them. So then it's in Yetzirah. So in other words, avol. Let me just get avol kashehein bizgalus liboy. But what if you have palpable love in the heart for Hashem? That's what we mean. It's revealed. Says the Alter Rebbe, Nikroi Rusa de Leiba B'Zoyar. The Zohar gives a special name to this love that's palpable. It's called the Reusa, which is the Hebrew for Ratzain, the will, the Liba for the word of Lev. It's the will of the heart. The heart is willing to love God. You don't have to force the heart to love God. The heart wants to love God. B'Zoyar, u'mekayman. And at that time, where is this love of yours? B'Yitzviras de Bria, not just in the 10 spheros of Yitzira, which is the world only of the world of emotions, but it actually goes to the world of creation, the second world, which is the world of intellect. In other words, at that time, your emotions are so powerful that it touches and it bespeaks Bria. Bria is less materialistic in the spiritual context, of course, than Yetzirah. Yetzirah, as much as imagination is powerful, it's imagination about the geshem, about the material. Yetzirah, Bria is the ex nihilo. It's the nothingness of creation. Meaning there is the yesh, the I, the feeling of yesh is not there. Let's continue. What?
So which of the Arba Lamos would be most associated with contemplating the godless of Hashem?
The world of Bria. In its pure form. You know, you threw out a general contemplating what type of contemplation, but if I had to answer your question in a general way, the answer is Bria. Okay? In top of page Samach Dalad now. And it's over there where it elevates HaTorah mitzvahs, HaBois Machmosim, the Torah mitzvahs that comes from the perspective of Bria, the perspective of intellect. For its exiting from the concealed place of the heart, to the revelation, it comes through das. And here again, he employs the concept of focus and concentration, which is das. And the wedging of one's mind with power, his bonus atzuma, and mighty, powerful meditation, that comes from the depth of the heart, yatir, more, the tadir, and more constant, how God is at our actual life, the second type of meditation, that Hashem is our true Father, Baruch Hu. So when you use that, when you use das, that's why I answered you, when you use das, Hillel, when you use das, what does das mean, Moshe? Das we learned in chapter 3, at the end of chapter 3, it means to wedge strongly your mind through focus and concentration on the idea. That's what das is. Das is not just knowledge, Hillel, lots of knowledge. Das isn't even meditation. Das is concentration. Meditation, one second, Moshe. Meditation, as powerful as it is and as important as it is, it's still in the realm of intellect. What does meditation have to do with bringing it home? For that, you need das.
Like Yisra Das.
What?
Like Yisra Das.
Yes. Moshe, what do you want to say?
So when we talk about das in this, that meditation, how do you link up that meditation to both chachma and bina? In other words, you need both to have das.
Yes, but das stands on its own, meaning das transcends chachma and bina. In other words, you can have most powerful chachma, an idea, and then the development of the idea. And if you don't focus and concentrate on it, nothing comes from it.
But the development is the bina.
The development is the bina. The idea, the creative idea is the chachma. Now you can be powerful in both. Usually people are not. They're either this or that, But let's say you're powerful in both. Nevertheless, if you're missing das, there won't be a bottom line result. And by the way, Moshe, it's a Gemara. The Gemara says, we've repeated when it comes to procreation, ain't kishu el das, which is, in the physical union, the kishu, the ejaculation, has to have. Otherwise, you can be in love and above in the huv, and nothing coming from it. You could be in a union and you consummate the union and there won't be a result. Why not? Because there's missing das. And that's a Gemara. That's nothing to do with Chassidus. It's Dalfin Rebbe. It says that we see from that Gemara that das makes the bottom line. In other words, the result, having the child out of a union, out of an intimacy, it needs the das for there to be that result. And if not, you can have all the feelings in the world and wonderful feelings. And you can understand each other wonderfully, but you won't have a bottom line result. Why? Because das is missing. You didn't concentrate on it.
Mm-hmm. You're saying that like an example of a husband and wife.
Yes.
The chachma. You're saying it's not just that the chachma is represented by the man and the bina is represented by the woman. You're saying that there has to be
das between the husband and the wife. There has to be a very deep focus and concentration.
Okay, yeah. But you're okay.
In other words, focus and concentration is not the love element. It's beyond love. It transcends love. It's deeper. Mm-hmm. And that's why in the Pasuk, when Shlomo says, you sing the song, Yonosi Tamosi, right? The famous song of the Balatanya. Na 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 na, that song, right? So the words are from the Pasuk. So there's 4 levels, right? So we spoke about this once, that the level of the piercing look of the eyes from the dove at each other, that's even deeper than the hug, than the kiss. It's even deeper because that's das. So das is a very different experience than just having the information and even understanding, developing the information. It's a focus and concentration. So the Alter Rebbe says over here that when a person applies this das, they can have this result of having the Ava actualized in their life. Let's continue. Oh my das zois. It's known what's written in Tikkunim Zoyar. In the world of Bria, there rests over there the supernal mother. What is that? He is bonus. That's development, meditation. But it is in the God, infinite God. As Eliyahu says over there in the Zoyar, Bina Liba. Bina is in the heart. And within it, the heart understands. So over here, what we mean is, I know it's a little confusing because the heart is usually midas. He means that the focus is so deep that it touches the very core of the heart. Now I was listening this morning to the Rebbe's mimer that he said, the first mimer, and I was able to focus. There was no one else in shul, and I was able to listen to it clear, and it was like a das moment, like wow. Like I heard clear from the Rebbe in 1951 his message for the world and for his leadership. It's coming up Shabbos, the Yortzeit, and the beginning of the Rebbe's the leadership, and I have to lead a Farbrengen. So I re-listened to it, and if you pay attention, das. I wasn't using bina, I wasn't learning the mimer. I wanted to hear from his holy mouth how he articulates the word and what he articulates the concept with and what does he want. And when you pay attention to it, you see and hear das, a mission. It's so different than just understanding. Let's continue. Not only that, now these two levels of Ava of Nafshi V'Sicha, which is Ki Chayenu, that God's our life, and the Ava of Kibrod Yishtadul Basar Avavim, the son that has self-sacrifice for the parents. Hein klolis min Pchinas Ava Rabo Gedola Ula mit Chirichim Usichliam. Oh, now the Alter Rebbe says, guess what? They also are imbued with the highest level of Ava, which we started to learn about in chapter 43, second half of 43, which is called abundant love, Ava Rabba. Which even is greater, Hillel, you see, from awe and fear, from awe and fear, intellectual ones. That's called the worldly love. And over here, you're imbued with something called Ava Rabba, abundant love. Nevertheless, nevertheless, now the Alter Rebbe here is very practical. If you're telling me that I get a chance at some Ava Rabba, so why should I even invest in Ava Solam? And the thrust of the chapter is really about Ava Solam, a love coming from the worldly experience, from my experience. Hanal, so the Alter Rebbe says, Habab means matfuna, right? Ava Solam, which comes from contemplation, v'das b'gdulas Hashem, k'dei lahagdil medulas eish, in order to heighten, the flame of fire, or ava b'rish be'esh, of the burning heart, v'shal heves azav alav o'el hashemayim, for the flame going up to heaven, ad shemayim rab lo yuchel achabas, as it says, the abundant waters can't extinguish the fire, v'neharas leish tevu, and rivers can't extinguish it. Why? Ki yesh yisru ma'ilo b'chinas ava k'rish be'esh, v'shal heves azav. Oh, Alter Rebbe says there isn't, in one area, there's an advantage to Ava Solam over Ava Rabba. You know what that is? Passion. You remember in the beginning I told you the way I interpret Ava Rabba, I said you are in a state of ecstasy. But when you're in a state of ecstasy, the passion is not there because you're already in ecstasy. Alter Rebbe now says there is also an advantage to being in the struggling, yearning state because you're passionate. Right? You know, what's the difference between a davener who is shuckling and really davening, and you could see there's a call, there's a yearning, Moshe, versus someone standing still. So we always say Chabad, they always say someone's standing still because he's there. He's there. He doesn't have to shuckle to get there. On the other hand, there's a mile of a shuckle. There's an advantage of a shuckle. What's the advantage of shuckle? I'm not there, but I got to get there. And you're moving. You know, the Rav Soloveitchik called this, again, I don't know if they're not exactly the same, he called it the world of friction. And Soloveitchik believed, and he writes it in this book, Svarim, you should know, he believed very much a person needs to be in constant friction. He used the word, tension. Constant tension. I'm using the word friction. But let's say constant tension. Why? Because constant tension is analogous. Again, it's not, to this concept here what the Alter Rebbe says. Ava Solam has the benefit, Isser, of fire. Now we're calling, and here the Alter Rebbe uses another name for it. Ava Kirish Beyesh. The love like a burning fire. Right? Let's call a spade, Isser. I don't know how it is with your Rebbe, the Bosner Rebbe, but for many people, when they go into a stolen base of Medrash, or they go into a Breslov place, or Vishnitz, right? It's easier to get turned on. That's why I see so many young kids going to these for Tishin and, right? There's a lot of tension. Now, it's tension from singing and dancing and screaming and shuckling, In Chabad, we're not talking about chaotic situations, but in true Chabad, it's not that way. Chabad is a very Chabad is intellectual Hasidus, which uses the head and is...
Tempered,
what?
Also even tempered.
Even tempered, and yeah. When you get to a farbrengen, you say l'chaim, you sing your heart out, you cry your heart out. But saying, barring those situations, Chabad is right. So there's something to be said about the Ava Kiddush Beyesh. It really catches on fire. So Moshe, when you take a group of Chappelle boys and you bring them to Tol Dasar and Tish versus to a farbrengen of Rabbi Chaim Shalom Deitch, Yerushalayim, most of them are going to be more inspired by the Tol Dasar and Tish. Why? Because there, it's not about listening to deep Torah. You know what I'm saying, right? You go to a Chabad farbrengen, there's a speaker, he's intellectualizing. Yeah, he tells you a story once in a while, a mushal. He gives you a pinch, he gives you a slap, he gives you a cry, he gives you a l'chaim. And for many people who are more even-tempered, that talks to them because it lets them feel kind of comfortable, and then slowly it works upon them, turns over the way you think. Manis Friedman, right? Rabbi Manis Friedman, he's made thousands of Bali Tshuva, probably the most in Chabad, right? He's very calm, monotone, and yet people can sit there and listen. Not everyone, and there's some people that just don't like it. They need a Yossi Jacobson, speaker to, up and down, backwards and forwards. The Alter Rebbe here is talking about the Maila, the advantage that there is in an Avas Olam type of love, which he calls now Ava Kiddush Beyesh. And it's not one is better than the other. It's different experiences. Let's continue. When does this come through this meditation? When it's fiery. This is analogous to gold over silver. Gold, wow. What's the price of gold compared to the price of silver? Gold is gold. Silver compared to gold is nothing, right? Because gold is fire. As we'll explain later on in these upcoming chapters. And the reason for this too is because this is the purpose of man. He should know the honor of God, in the preciousness of God. Every person based on his capacity of comprehension, because what I meant the Parshas Boy, begin the Yishtam Din Lei. In Parshas Boy, which is the Shabbos Parsha, it says, Avram, why did God create the world? Begin so that we should Yishtamdum, we should know Him. You have to know God. V'chulu u'kenoida. So the Alter Rebbe says, the purpose is to know God, and the way to know God is to identify with this Ava, which is an Ava Kiddush Beyesh, which shakes you up to your core, and you explore knowledge of God. Okay, we're going to stop here in Mitzvah Hashem, and everyone should have a great Shabbos. There's a farbrengen, I'm sure I saw in Ramat Bet Shemesh. Rabbi Chitrik is coming, who I know, and my cousin Tzvi Sand. His mother, I think, was a Dalfin. And his father may be well. He's an older man, and I know him as well. And Tzvi is a fantastic person. He does tremendous chesed. My wife and I stayed with him once when my daughter had her baby in Tzvas, and Tzvi was mamash, either drove her or was going to drive her to Tzvas in the middle of the night. Real Isha chesed. So I want you to welcome Tzvi warmly. I told him that you guys are probably going to be there, or some of you at least, and go over. And it's a special day, Yud Shvat, to connect to the Frierdiker Rebbe, and we owe a lot of gratitude. We've learned his Maimorim. We've learned so much Torah from the previous Rebbe. So it's only right that we say a l'chaim, a vort, something with the yard site. And it's also the day when our Rebbe became Rebbe in 1951 was that first Maimer that I told you about. So it's a great day, and if someone has a personal need, and who doesn't, parnasa and children, safety and everything else, health, it's a good day to say l'chaim, and if you have a chance to write a pidyon nefesh upon and send it into the oil Erev Shabbos, today, tomorrow, if not Sunday, And we'll welcome everyone back on Monday. We'll start the next chapter in Tanya. Baruch Hashem, there are more people listening online, and there's a lot more to do, but a little bit at a time. Yidl by Yidl. L'chaim, have a great Shabbos. Take care, guys.
Go ahead.
Bye-bye.
Go ahead.
Bye-bye.
Shabbos.